A few days ago, while in Dixon, I spoke with a gentleman that's a naturalized citizen. He was not born in this country. And we were talking about how bad the coronavirus is. Then he said something I thought was wonderfully profound. He said, "But Doug, there's going to be some good things that will come out of this." And then he mentioned some of the things that he foresaw happening to families. We're going to be spending more time with our families. And so Daniel and I were discussing this the other day, and I asked Daniel to think about some of the good things that he sees coming out of this coronavirus. We know it's been bad. 76,000 deaths worldwide. 11,000 of those deaths have been here in the U.S. of A. But we will get through this at some point, and our prayer is that God will make wonderful and lasting eternal good to come out of this. So Daniel, what are some things that you see good coming out of our nation struggling with the coronavirus infections?
Well, to take a moment to just hearken back to my youth, I remember my mother telling me that every cloud has a silver lining. And I remember the first time she said that to me, I asked her what she meant by that. And she says, well, picture it like this. Picture a storm at midday. And when the clouds seem at their absolute darkest, the sun is still shining behind them. This dark cloud of this pandemic that we have over us right now has many wondering what possible good could come from all of this. And you might just be surprised at some of the positive things that I've seen, that we've seen coming from this pandemic. For starters, for the past few weeks, many families have been drawn closer to one another, much closer than maybe they have been in years past. Families have been spending more time together, and this can have many, many wonderful results. Since so many restaurants have been closed down, that means families are having more meals together. And when you sit down and have a meal together as a family, you learn and find out even more about one another. Add to that, I think that this pandemic has caused many to reevaluate some of the simple things in this life. Things that maybe we had taken for granted, like being able to go to the grocery store and find things like toilet paper, ground beef, cleaning supplies, and you name it. I mean, these days, I'm ecstatic when I get 3/4 of the things that's on my grocery list. This pandemic has caused many to write letters and send emails to healthcare workers telling them just how much they appreciate them and admire them for what they are doing, especially when treating those who have this illness. Another good thing that I've seen come from this pandemic is that it's caused many to seek out a power higher than themselves for comfort and for answers. Yes, there have been many who have turned to God during these troublesome times. In fact, there are a lot of people who right now who never had time for the Lord who are now turning their attention to Father and Son. In every war that America has ever fought, the attendance numbers at places of worship have just been through the roof. Auditoriums packed to capacity. I remember it was the same way after 9/11. I remember watching Democrats and Republicans holding hands and praying on the steps of the White House Capitol. Sadly, though, after the wars had been fought and the troops had been sent back home, it wasn't long after that many of these places of worship began to see a sharp decline in attendance. Adversity always seems to drive people, however, towards God. You might ask, what good could possibly come from this pandemic? I would say that a lot of good things have happened so far. Think about the sheer amount of time that millions are now dedicating to the act of prayer, petitioning our Father in heaven for things that were often taken for granted. Prayer works. Prayer works because, as Doug stated in a lesson recently, God works. I want to share something with you, and I'll close. Last Thursday, our congregation was urged to read a passage from 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verses 12 through 14. And I especially like how the easy-to-read version translates this text. This is the version that the deaf community uses very often. Just a quick bit of history. When Solomon was dedicating the temple in Jerusalem, it was about 966 BC, he gave the people of Israel a message from God. And here's the message. This is the text. It reads, "When I close the sky so that there is no rain, or command the locusts to destroy the land, or send sickness to my people, and if my people who are called by my name become humble and pray and look for me and turn away from their evil ways, then I will hear them from heaven. I will forgive their sins and heal their land. Now my eyes are open and my ears will pay attention to the prayers prayed in this place." Now, whether or not this pandemic that we are in right now is a way of God correcting those who may be outside of his word, it's clear to me that it has caused many to seek out a power higher than themselves. In short, many are beginning to give the Lord a place in their lives, or at the very least, they're starting to give him and his son the true consideration they deserve, and that's a wonderful place to start. As we continue to stay the course until such time that we are on the other side of this pandemic, just know that the Lord and his word can be trusted. I'm going to leave you with two passages from his word. The first one being 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 3, which tells us, "Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all of our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." Listen to how many times the word comfort is used in this passage. Also, I leave this for your consideration, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, which tells us, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him, because he cares for you." From this moment on, make it a point to look around and see what positive things you can see that have come about as a result.